Well, happy Thanksgiving holiday, everybody. Right in line with that, our icebreaker this morning has to do with food, because it's not something we talk about enough here at Family and Children's Aid. And so, my question for you, we're gonna just imagine for a minute that there's a culinary crisis here in the United States. And moving forward, you can only use one spice or one condiment in your cooking and in your eating. And so, what do you choose? Do you choose a spice? Do you choose a condiment? And what is it? Oh, go on, Lauren. And Nellie, you're in on deck.
I mean, I could pretty much be fine just hitting just about anything with ketchup. It doesn't even have to be seasoned. That's fine. Hit it with some ketchup and I'll live. I'll probably live like fairly happily even.
Nellie.
The Hispanic staple, adobo.
Oh,
I'm good because it has all the things all mixed in it. Put it in. We're keeping it moving.
you've got a lot of agreement on this.
I was gonna say I love it too. Because yes, it has everything that I need. I don't need to go crazy with garlic salt or onion powder or nothing. Like I just need that.
That was mine as well. I'm third on that one.
I'll
Of
say I'm
course.
fourth, fifth.
I'm actually
Oh,
fifth on. I'm
fourth.
actually fifth on that.
All right,
I'm
I'll
fourth.
be sixth.
Wow. All right. So there's now going to be a shortage on adobo because of this too. I love this.
It's
Okay.
sold out. It sold out at Walmart today. I said, well,
Oh,
I
did
guess
it
that's
really?
yeah.
All right. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm struggling. I don't know if I go with salt, like as a general spice, or if I go with ranch as my condiment. Like I'm a little stuck. I don't know where I go. I might have to like beg and see if somebody's not going to use theirs at all and try and get an extra.
I'm just probably gonna starve to death because I love condiments. Like my fridge at any given moment has more condiments and sauces than actual food, if we're being completely honest. So, like to pick one is
Mm.
I'm just gonna starve to death, period. That's what's gonna happen.
What if we gave you two, just for purposes of discussion? No, you're still
I mean, if I had to pick two, I would probably go with Chick-fil-A sauce because I'm pretty sure, as Lauren said, like I could put that on anything and it would be fine. It doesn't matter. I could eat cardboard as long as I had Chick-fil-A sauce on it, it'd be all set. And I think for the second one, maybe Taco Bell mild sauce because again, similar concept. I could put that on cardboard and it would taste good. So I think if I had to pick two, those are the two I would go with.
okay. I appreciate you focusing in for a purpose of discussion.
I was gonna go salt. I put an obsessive amount of salt on a lot of things. It's definitely impacting my lifespan, but I love salt, so I was gonna go like salt. And I'm not a big condiment person, so I'm gonna stick with salt.
And I appreciate that you did that, and Mariah almost made all of us wear coffee through a screen.
Riley does that to me on a regular basis. She just comes out with the funniest things just out of nowhere. And yes, I did almost just spit coffee all over my computer. But thank you, Riley. I appreciate the humor.
Yeah, I just feel like salt, if you put, I don't necessarily go what it would appear like Riley's extreme is, but I just feel like the right amount, like just adds to that natural flavor of something, which is why I don't know. Hi, Lauren.
Can I change my answer?
Sure.
Because actually, instead of ketchup lately, as over the last year, I've swapped to using more likely to use gochujang, like this like sauce of it actually, which is the smart way of like I'm not going to use like I wouldn't want just the chili paste if that was all I had because that's just the paste, but they do make a sauce out of it, which is very good. And that goes on everything. I put that on everything. It's my version of Red Hots. Not Red Hots, Frank
Fra-
Hot.
Frank's Red Hot Sauce.
I just had a stroke.
You
You pulled a Mariah.
She full glitched. She full pulled a Mariah and glitched.
She did.
Yeah.
Frank's red hot.
Okay. You good? You need a minute? Okay. Well, I appreciate that. I hope you all have as much spice and condiments as you want for your Thanksgiving dinner. But I wanted to do something involving food, given the hopefully gluttonous amounts you will be able to eat over the next few days. Um, so we are heading into the holidays. Obviously, Thanksgiving is tomorrow, and we know the holidays are a time of heightened emotions, and it can be positive, it can be stressful, it can be what some people will call negative. It can be times of positive, fun memories. It can be times of sad memories. And so it's a perfect time to talk about why we need adaptive skills in our parenting. And we need to talk about what are some of these adaptive skills. We need to talk about what are some things that we can do to be in front of situations, and what are some things that we can do to de-escalate situations, and what are some of the common battles that you guys see over and over on that parents can pick and let go. So, right, we know that schedules change during the holidays. We've got chorus concerts, and we know that vacation time is coming up from schools. And so, what are some of these things that we can do to sort of get ahead of all of this fun chaos? So, how would you define adaptive skills? What is adaptive or flexible parenting?
I say go with the flow. Like you just don't anticipate, don't expect too much, and just go with the flow. So when things go a little left, you can still manage and counterplay. Because I think sometimes, especially around the holidays, we put so much pressure on things being perfect, things being like in the movies and everything's seamless. All the food is made, everyone's getting along, no one drank too much. So, but it's really about that go with the flow attitude.
Thanks, Nelly. Others?
I think just to kind of piggyback off of that, also picking and choosing what you want to I guess have be a battle in that moment, what really, especially during the holidays when it is a more high stress time, recognize that it's not just high stress for you, but it's high stress for everybody in the family likely. So, recognizing, okay, well, what is actually a problem that's going on versus what could just be the result of this extra stress environment or situation with the holidays or anything else. You have to kind of look at what's going on and look at what might be contributing to that first, I think.
I would say adapting also with the foods. Depending on the environment or where with which the youth was raised in, they might have a different idea of what Thanksgiving looks like. In terms of the foods that they eat, what they like, being able to kind of incorporate some of their likes into your menu. You might, let's just say for me, I'm Caribbean, everything is spicy, but that might not necessarily be the case for them. A youth might want meatless lasagna, or they might want, so just kind of like incorporating the things that they like into your Thanksgiving menu so that everybody's happy. And understanding that how they see Thanksgiving is a little bit different. So maybe to get ahead of that would be having conversation about what does Thanksgiving look like? Did your family celebrate the holidays? What does the holidays mean to you? Just having these conversations early out when the youth is probably first place so that you can kind of get an idea of what some of the likes and dislikes are, what are some of the traditions, and maybe adapting would be just kind of learning how to incorporate that into the things that you do with your family so that everybody feels a part.
I think
Alicia.
actually another important thing that Melissa's saying is about what do they want to do for the holidays, whereas but we also know that we have had a bunch of kids who they don't want to celebrate the holidays at all. And I think that having space for that possibility um is also important and not and being flexible with maybe how you approach it and how you react to that possibility.
Yeah,
Lauren, I think that word is so important. That's the word I was going to say. Circling back, everybody, we're all kind of saying a similar thing, but whether it's before the holidays, with the holidays, just in general, adaptive parenting, there needs to be that element of flexibility. There has to be that piece of it that allows movement, change, creativity, problem solving, but there has to be an element of flexibility regardless of the circumstances. Big picture, it has to be flexible.
yeah, you guys actually brought up two things that I want to touch on. So thank you. So, Milicia, you brought up specifically, like, how do we incorporate some of their wishes into some of the things that might be tradition for us. And so I want you guys, open that for discussion. And also, Lauren, you brought up what if this isn't a holiday they celebrate, or what if they were raised not to celebrate holidays? And I'd love for you guys to talk about ways to potentially approach that with a child, a family that might be encountering that. So, whichever you're comfortable addressing, or if you're comfortable addressing both, please feel free.
I would say, I think Charisma brought this up in our staff meeting, which I thought was very interesting. Sometimes you have youth who have religious backgrounds who may not necessarily celebrate Thanksgiving, like don't want to call it what it's, they might see it as, they don't see it as a real holiday, or they don't celebrate holidays. We'll just say that we're having a dinner and we're having a dinner on this day to kind of change around the wording. Um, Today we're just being grateful for for being in each other's lives, or just like, because it's something that that you're going to have to do. Maybe the wordplay and the wording around what the day is can change how they feel about it. So it's not necessarily that it's a holiday. It's just a day that we're going to have dinner, and we're just going to tell everybody thank you, and we're being grateful for everyone who's here. And even like, you have youth who don't celebrate Christmas. Maybe just saying, today we want to show appreciation for people who've done things for us. Just change around the wording. Even if you celebrate it on a separate day, like not necessarily on the 25th, but Christmas might be celebrated on the 23rd. So it's not necessarily feeling like they're celebrating the actual day itself. But just because I know that would be really hard if you're very religious or come from a specific background, to take in a youth who's the complete opposite. So I think it would make sense to just try to change around the wording around it. Try to find ways to somewhat incorporate it if you still have to, but in a way that it's not really seen as this religious kind of like thing, or I think Charisma stated that they have a big dinner on Thanksgiving, but nobody actually calls it Thanksgiving. It's just a dinner. That's amazing, because you're not, you're still celebrating, you're getting all the gist of Thanksgiving out of it, but you're not necessarily calling it Thanksgiving. So I think that just like, I guess, changing around how you state what it is, giving more definition to how we can see it. Oh, this is a family dinner. We just want to say thank you to all of you. We love you. We appreciate you being in our lives, or something like that. And I think just so that way you're still incorporating the actual your time with your family, and understanding that youth may not necessarily celebrate the holiday.
And I think it's those conversations, right? And understanding what part of the holiday is difficult for you. Is it that you don't want to celebrate? Is it that you just don't want to celebrate because you feel guilty because you're not with mom and dad celebrating? Like having those discussions and conversations to open up around what are some of those pieces that are uncomfortable for that kid, and how can we navigate it. And then I think it goes back to kind of what Lauren was talking about, right? Where are the lines and the boundaries? For example, if an entire family is going to somebody's house, well, that kid may not be able to stay home, right? They might be too little. They might not be able to, but can we compromise? Is it that we bring activities for you to do over here so that you don't feel forced to participate? Again, that piece around flexibility, determining where the actual lines need to be and how we operate within that.
Love that suggestion. Thank you, Mariah. That's fantastic, right? We can't necessarily accommodate 100%, but what can we do to meet in the middle? Anyone else?
I always think of that. I don't remember which training it was that we did of Q-tip and the little acronym of quit taking it personal. Like sometimes as adults, because it brings up holidays bring up stuff for everyone, children and adults all alike. But sometimes we take it as, oh, it's an affront to me. Like you don't want this from me. And it's like, no, it's not. Stop taking it personal. Like there's so much more to unpack, as Mariah's favorite, word of the week is. To unpack there and really ask those questions and have those conversations with the youth to see what is it? What will make this a little better? What will make it a little uh easier to manage?
Yeah, Q-tip is, I think, one of the best acronyms that we can impart to each other, our foster parents, other workers in the field, right? And it's really, I mean, for me, Q-tip makes me think about what are my buttons and what is, right? Because let's be honest, all kids, foster kids are not push buttons. It's I was pretty good at it as a kid. Like I knew what bothered my mother and I was gonna do it. And so what are those buttons? And Nelly, to your point, it brings, the holiday season is chaotic in general. And so those buttons get pushed easier. And so how do we recognize that in another circumstances might not be an issue? And so that leads into those, how do we pick our battles in the holidays? Um, yeah, Lauren, take it away.
Um, this may not answer this question, or the last one. But one thing that just kind of popped in my mind that I think that we don't, that I've never thought about before as a strategy for a parent is to also sit down and to determine what is the most important thing to you about a holiday? Is it the food? Is it the time with people? Is it whatever that might be? You can then take whatever the issue is and boil it down to, how do I say this? Um, putting it back to, well, this is what the most important thing to me is. So if we're going to another family's house and kiddo doesn't want to, I don't know, dress up or doesn't want to eat X, Y, this food, this food, this food. But the thing that's most important to you is, I just want to be together. That is what the most important part is. Okay, so then have that be where the compromise is, maybe. And then, but I think that along with finding out not only what pushes our buttons, but finding out where I think that that comes from, even underneath that, is what the most important part is to you, because they're probably related. I don't know how to word this correctly.
No, I think actually, Lauren, what you're saying is spot on, and it applies to, I think, picking battles in general, and it's one of sort of the, I don't know, tenets of FFT, I guess maybe we could call it, but it's that idea around don't talk to people about what the problem is, talk to people about why the problem matters to them. So it's not, don't tell me that you're upset because the kid's not going to bed when they're supposed to. Why does that matter? Does it matter because you want them to get enough sleep? Does it matter because they're not getting up in the morning? And I think that's a place in FFT where we do typically start in trying to help foster parents and parents pick their battles is, why is that problem important? And then subsequently, so then how do we address that piece? Not the problem, but the part of it that's important.
And to Lauren's point, it's really about that insight, right? Into self. Know what is it underneath that's important to you? What is it about this that is going to trigger you? Like those things, like Lauren, you were saying how they're parallel and they're connected, because that takes a tremendous amount of insight and that takes some honesty with yourself and making yourself a little vulnerable to say, what is it about this? Like when that battle of getting dressed for the holidays. Oh my God. It's such a trigger thing because, growing up, I had to wear all the fluffy, glittery dresses that my mother made me wear to these parties. And I was like, I don't want to wear them, but she made us wear them. And now I find myself with my kids where I'm like, I don't really care if you dress up. Just put a nice shirt on. Don't put something raggedy, because it's finding that compromise. Like, but I think it's something about triggering for me because it brings those things up. So you have to know about that for yourself and what your expectations are and where you're willing to bend a little on those things.
I want to circle back to, we talked about lots of different things so far, right? The adaptive skills, the flexibility, our own Q-tips and triggers, um, battles we should pick, not pick. And I just want to kind of hit on what, oh, we also talked about incorporating traditions. I want to really just kind of emphasize, why is this so important for foster parents? A lot of the stuff we talked about is important for any, right, youth and family. But why is this so important for foster and adoptive parenting? Why is there an extra layer?
I think that comes with recognizing that you have only had this youth in your home for X amount of time, whether it's been a week, a month, or a year or two is still significant, but compared to the other years they might have spent in other situations and how again how they celebrated holidays and did day-to-day life is something to really be able to recognize and that adaptability is important with all parents, but especially in this role of being with a youth that hasn't always been with you and having to adjust and adapt to how things are going to go. How Thanksgiving went last year, if you've had this youth for 2 years, might go different than this year because it's just things are always forever changing in their lives and as well as yours. And being able to adapt to that can really help you and the youth have a more successful holiday.
Yeah, thanks, Riley. I think you're right. I think one of the other things that I always think about in the holidays is that, as happy as it may be and as fun as it may be, there's, for all of us, there's also this, even if it's unconscious, there's loss to the holidays. You inherently think about the people that aren't there with you, for all of us. And so imagine for a foster youth, there's this inherent, again, even if it's unconscious, that they are not with their family, they are not with their brother or sister or whatever it is. And so I think that we have to remember that you may give them, and they may tell you it was the best holiday they've ever had, but there is that underlying trauma that even if they can't verbalize and they don't recognize, their body is going to experience. And I don't know if any of the clinicians, or even, FFSs, FSSs, sorry, just made up a new title, want to comment on that as well from that trauma lens.
I think there's always gonna be like we were talking about like disagreements in the household about different stuff, but it's always important for like the foster parents or a parent to stay calm during times of like high emotions. And like that's like an adaptive skill, like staying calm. Like making sure that if there is a disagreement that it doesn't like doesn't blow up and they take like a moment to themselves or they like breathe like maybe breathing will help or maybe them going to the kitchen, drinking some water, going to the room, and then thinking about like why are we having this disagreement? Like what's going on at this moment? And then going back to and having like a conversation. Because instead of like sometimes when our emotions heighten, like we want to react to it, but it's good to take like a pause, like a break, and kind of like look back on it to help like your relationship instead of like hurting it.
Yeah, and I know Nellie is a huge proponent of co-regulation, and attunement. And so I also, Nellie, if you have anything to say on that subject, by all means, jump in. But yeah, I think that's also something to keep in mind during this holiday, that the kids are going to feed off of your energy too.
And with pick your choose your battles, like I always visual, because I'm so visual sometimes too, and you kind of gotta like step out of your body for things. If you think of it like you're playing a tug of war with the kid wants something, they're pulling the rope, you're pulling the rope, you're both arguing. Who inherently has more power in this? Who inherently is stronger in this capacity? So why are you as an adult playing tug of war with the child? drop the rope, let it go for a second and step away so that you can really think about what is it that's making this kid upset or triggering the child too, that they're pulling on this rope. Because as adults, we have to be able to take that pause and that break and step away from it. And so, like, I visually will always think about it as a tug of war and, like, let me just drop this rope, walk away from it for a second and rethink this and what's happening in the space.
Nelly, I love that visual. Like as you were describing it, I literally like just pictured it in my head. So that for me was super helpful, and I hope others found it helpful too. So thank you for that. Yeah, Lauren.
I actually just wanted to circle back to the trauma portion, because I think that also as a parent, caregiver, and any adult in a youth's life, to remember that you are the basically the doorway to communication for that youth, and give depending on age, what has happened in their life, maturity, everything, um, they may not even be able to communicate why something bothers them. The way that you were saying how there is trauma surrounding it, whether or not they even recognize that. So even the concept of saying like, okay, well, why don't you want to do XYZ, or something's just they might react negatively to something, not even themselves understand that. So starting off on your own with already looking at things through that lens of no matter what, there is trauma behind surrounding holidays, surrounding things that are likely family centric, these integral things that are part of, I think, in all cultures, being a family. Um, these things are going to be difficult for them, whether or not they even recognize that that's what's causing discomfort in them. So I think that starting off before, when you're are picking, choosing those battles, whatever it might be, or even approaching things, remembering that that is all that is there somewhere. And then on top of that, uh, oh, I just lost the other part that I was gonna say. Um,
Take a minute.
I'm only one third through my coffee. Um, but um, and then again, yeah, taking that into account, the fact that you are the adult, you are the main person to establish that communication. And you also, I don't think, can have, again, those expectations that a child, youth, however, whatever age, is going to be able to communicate to you the way that you necessarily want them to, or the way that you feel like you can understand. So I think that, and I think a lot of that can, especially around holidays, stem from that underlying trauma. So having that as a foundation for how you do approach things is important.
Thank you, Lauren. Lauren.
However,
We'll just make up names.
I'll honestly, as long as I know you're talking to me, I'll answer to any name. I don't
Okay.
care.
Well, we'll keep that in mind moving forward. Thank you. That was a great application to all of us too. Just, that memory or that reminder that we all have big feelings during the holidays. So because we are rolling into the holidays, I do want to wrap up with something fun. So if you can all find the reaction feature on your Zoom. And here's what I want. Thumbs. You're going to go either the thumbs up or the heart reaction. Okay. Thumbs up if you are cooking at all for Thanksgiving. Heart if you are being catered to and someone else is doing all the cooking. All right. Well, with that, we hope that everybody has a fantastic holiday, and we'll see you next week at our home visits.